That was kind of corny. All right, we need a better video for the for the timer countdown that doesn't sound so corny.
Boring. Yeah, we can fix that, right? Technology as we go.
Yeah, if only we knew someone who could edit some videos. You're not even in uniform.
I'm in my CBG hat, so.
Oh.
We'll
All right. Well, welcome to another Workshop Wednesday. I'm here with Carrie Kahn and Kaitlyn Weil from ADP, and we are actually live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Wow.
We're in all the interwebs. So
maybe one day we can get in LinkedIn. I saw something about that. Soon, coming soon.
Coming soon. And we're also live on our websites, right? So if you go to schoolofbookkeeping.com/workshop Wednesday, you can join in right there. The chat. I mean, it's actually the embedded YouTube, but you should be able to chat and participate live in the workshop there as well. So we're all over the place.
If you see us, tell us where you see us.
Yeah. Let's see.
That's fun.
I'm going to close a few things here so I can actually bring up the chat. Okay, so today we're actually going to be talking about a couple things. Of course, we're always continuing our payroll fundamentals section of and continuing that, and that's why Kate and sometimes Rachel are joining us here on the workshop. So today we're going to be talking about a topic of how you pay your employees, like different payment methods of which to pay your employees, and then we'll shifting gears and talking a little bit about Spreadsheet Sync and how to make it better, because we'll talk about our experience at scaling new heights with Spreadsheet Sync and how that went.
We'll put that story on the shelf for a minute. We'll start with Payroll.
Table that one. Go to paying employees. So
paying employees is really important, because after you get paid, after you work, what you need to show me the cheddar.
See, now you're always going to be talking about making cheddar, because
now that I know what it is, I think it's more making the bacon. I know that one.
It's a food reference. Now you've got cheddar and cheese and bacon.
It's all good.
Now I'm hungry. Why do we do this over lunch? This
is really dumb. So, and I haven't had lunch.
Yeah. So are you hangry?
Not yet. It comes soon, hopefully before we end this.
All right. Before the obscenities start flying, we'll close the workshop.
Comes out of nowhere. But excellent. We're still good.
So back in years ago, Carrie, when
the early part of my career,
you started. We talked about when you added Paula and payroll employee number one. What was the way to pay employees back then?
Even back then, we did direct deposit because it's easier than printing a check. And I had the flexibility, if you had like a time when you were going to do a bonus, you wanted to hand them a check, I could do both.
So you got both. So
one or the other, not one of each. Here's your direct deposit, here's your check. They'd be completely confused. But if you decided to do like a Christmas bonus or holiday pay or year-end bonus or bonus just because, you may want to print that on paper just so that you can sit down and talk about it instead of just have it appear magically in their account.
Yeah. Or you give them a Christmas card or a holiday card and here's your stub.
Yeah. It's going to show up. That's actually, they don't care as long as it ends up where it needs to go.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Not in not on the floorboard of your car, crumpled up that needs to go to the bank. So get it in the bank is the best way, I think.
Right. So, the ways, traditionally the ways to pay your employee are through a paper check or direct deposit. And we'll talk to Kate about some of the other ways that are now available to do that. Hold on a second. I got a Stream problem. Okay, I think we're okay. But if you're having trouble seeing this on the web, I don't know. You look like we're frozen.
It was frozen for me a minute ago, but it came right back when we were talking about the food and getting hungry. Oh, yeah, he's frozen for me. I can still see Kate moving. Dan is frozen.
Oh.
So it might be his internet. He's in Maine right now in his RV, so
Nice.
the internet in Maine is not
cutting
edge.
Nope.
Fun times. So
That's funny.
we can continue to talk about payroll methods because I know the answer, what he's working up to.
Yeah, we can jump on in there.
So I think he's working up to the fact, what if you have an employee that is, they don't believe in banks, they take their coins and bury them in the backyard. How do you pay them?
So Dan's gone completely. Dan can see us.
There we go.
Okay.
So
we're just moving on to the pay method. So here we go.
So if you have an employee that either doesn't have a bank account, doesn't want to do direct deposit, and you don't want to do live checks, so you don't give them the option, they can only do direct deposit or something else. Yeah, or something, anything but live checks. We have what's called the Wisely card. It's just what ADP uses specifically, but there are prepaid card options. So it works just like a bank account. You have one that you get. It's no additional cost to the employee, no additional cost to the employer. And that's just your paychecks get loaded onto there. So you can still go to ATMs. You can still withdraw money. You can still use the card for like bills. You can use like a debit card for bills. You can use this card for bills. You can use it at the stores, anything of that sort. It's just a debit card that instead of the money going into your bank account, it goes right onto this Wisely card.
Is Wisely accepted at any bank, or are there certain banks they need to go to?
It's accepted at any bank. Some banks, there's like fees. We have like a whole one pager on like where to go, what fees are associated with like different accounts. Some banks have no fees. Some have a few percent. Just depends on the bank specifically. But when clients let me know that they are interested, there's a little one pager. If anyone's interested, if they think they have clients that might be interested, I can send that out to you guys. But It's just gives like an overview of the different, I guess, the nitty gritty of the Wisely card.
So with the Wisely card too, I would imagine that with ADP, the thing that my employees love the most is that the app, so they can see what their pay stub is and see how much has been withheld. They probably still get that. It's just their money is landing on a card, a prepaid card versus a real structured bank account.
Yeah, exactly. They actually, in order to sign up for the Wisely card, you actually do it right through the app. So on there, they could see like something that says like, hey, Wisely, and then they'll just click that, and that's how they can set it up. It gets mailed directly to the employee. And what's great, if for some reason Joe loses his card and he needs a new one, it's not on the owner. It's not something else they have to deal with now. They go directly through Wisely and get the card remailed that way and get it all set up that way. And if anything happens, it's on Wisely. It's not on the business owner.
So is Wisely basically like a bank account in the cloud for them?
Yeah.
Okay. So if they're scared of bank accounts, you just have to work your magic in selling the option.
Yeah, it's a lot of times the reason people go with Wisely card is I've seen a lot recently, and I don't know if it's because there's a lot of hybrid workers right now, but a lot of options people either have to have direct deposit or they have to do the prepaid card. Business owners are kind of moving away from check. And I don't know if it's because of the more hybrid world we're living in now, or if it's because they don't want to deal with it and passing it out every Friday, Monday, whatever their payday is. A lot of times they just kind of now pass it on.
What's the funding time like once you process payroll for it to show up there, or is it like instantaneous?
It's just like a normal bank account.
One thing that I think is really good about this is that having been in the world of sending, doing paper checks and having to reconcile and waiting for them to clear, sometimes they get lost, and the employee is still going to get a W-2 with that information on there. So I don't like paying with those paper checks either, because they get lost, and the banks are really harsh about it. If you have to reprint it or whatever, depending on where you do it, you may end up paying fees on it, and that's not fair to the business owner because the recipient is sloppy with it. So I like this idea and option.
I just pulled up the little like cheat sheet on the Wisely card, that one pager. For like fees, there's no fees associated. So there's no like monthly maintenance, no overdraft fees, no card replacement fees, no money order fees. And then as far as like features, there's over 80,000 banks they can go to.
Oh, nice.
Typically, banks are between 1,500 and 16,000 ATMs. So it's a tremendous amount of more you can use. And then you can also use Apple Pay. You can use Apple Pay, Samsung Pay, and Google Pay.
If you haven't tried Apple Pay, I recommend. I mean, it's you can go shopping with your phone, because I was shopping with my aunt and we were hiking around Golden Gate Park, and we hit the gift shop, and I have no self-control in the gift shop, and I looked at her and said, I really want this San Francisco t-shirt with the Golden Gate Bridge. It was perfect, the soft t-shirt. And I said, I forgot my wallet. And she said, do you have Apple Pay on your phone? I said, yeah. And she's, in her 70s, and she goes, let me show you how to work this. And I was like, oh, I'm sold. So now when we shop, we laugh and we pull out our Apple Pay. So that's really
my
feature.
It's dangerous.
My dad drove from New York to South Carolina like 2 years ago. Calls me halfway down the drive. He needs to fill up the car. I left my wallet in New York. What do I do? And I was like, Apple Pay. I'll read you off the number. Here you go. So he had no wallet on him and still got to go. Apple Pay is a blessing. I love Apple Pay.
Yes, definitely.
Oh, back on topic though. So so you have Wisely cards, you can pay them. And then another thing about the checks. So with ADP, we have live checks, which are just, when the money comes out of the account when it's cashed. But we also have what's called ADP check. So if you don't want your business bank routing and account number on a check, you don't want it out like that, or you just want maybe for bookkeeping purposes, it all pulled out like direct deposit, you can do ADP check. So that's their printed out ADP's routing number. So just another caveat option to throw out there to just add an extra thing to the plate.
Right. And then you still have the issue if the employee doesn't cash a check and all the drama behind it. But it's nice to have that as an option.
Yeah.
So is there any other way to pay an employee? I assume while I was frozen, you talked about the traditional ways of
we talked about traditional
paychecks and direct deposit, right?
Yep, paychecks, direct deposit. I have seen, I would say when I first started ADP back then, a lot of people would pay through like Zelle, Venmo, things of that sort, but then would still track on their end the 1099s. Now with everything changing as far as what the government's regulating, people are now moving over to the direct deposits or the checks instead of just doing. But I do know people do pay their 1099s, even though they keep it on the books. They still do it through Zelle or Venmo or Cash App or whatever else app is out there now.
Lots of, even Apple has a cash, which I like Apple Pay. I don't really like the Apple Cash, but yeah, you can definitely use those methods to pay. But the whole background is you may get audited because you've got to do 1099s for your contract labor or W-2 for your employees. So there's many ways to pay them and make them happy, because you do not want to leave your employees waiting for pay.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the traditional, payroll, run on Friday. Typically, those panicked employers would be calling, and you can actually hear the employees like knocking on the door, waiting for their paycheck to be created. But yeah, you don't want to be messing with other people's money, especially because they've already done the work in that pay period that we talked about before, as far as those pay period dates. So now they're expecting the funds to be there when they happen, and they're certainly disappointed is the nicest way to say it when it's not, right?
When computer crashes and your payroll tables aren't up to date and things of that nature, or the payroll clerk did not do their job. The timesheets aren't. There's a lot of things that can delay payroll. You want to make that a smooth road.
Yeah, I was
Get
just
this
talking to
okay.
someone this morning who they were in the process of sending payroll data to the direct deposit, and the program crashed. So it didn't it didn't get sent, and therefore the checks and the money movement never took place. So yeah, they were dealing with upset employees, and having to come up with that. What would be a remedy, Kate, in your like, if something doesn't happen because you have a funding cutoff, right?
Window.
Like
Yeah, the cutoff.
in order for the funding to happen, you have to run payroll by a certain date. If that oddly enough, worst case scenario, if that didn't happen by that cutoff, what do you suggest to people to be able to make sure that people get their funds in a timely fashion?
Yeah. So what I recommend is when that happens, because I've had people at because our cutoff date is the day before at 5 o'clock. So I've had people call me at 6 o'clock.
5:03.
Well, so
and then it's, what time is that? Is that your time, or is that Pacific time, or is it?
So it's wherever the account is based out of. But so I say 5 o'clock. Technically, you can get away with 5:30, but I like to keep that in my back pocket. So listening, 5:30 is a hard cutoff, but I tell everyone 5, so they get a little bigger wiggle room if you got Carrie running in on 2 wheels and you're running payroll.
Yeah. Yep.
So a few different options.
Business.
If it's 7 o'clock at night, you're texting me, I forgot to pay my employees, what can we do?
Yeah.
The biggest thing I recommend is calling into ADP, telling them we want to do, you're going to handwrite the checks, but here's the amounts, and doing what we call a payroll override. So we won't have checks delivered, and we won't have checks or direct deposits sent, but we can still pull the taxes. We can still do everything on the back end, get logged for their W-2s or their 1099s at the end of the year. And then we'll give you the net amount, and you can just write a hand check. So that's personally what I recommend, just because then the employees still get paid on the correct date. Everything still gets taken out tax-wise. It's kind of just, they'll get paper checks that week. But another option is if they were to wait if they were to run at 7 o'clock, they could get paid not Friday, they would get paid Monday.
Yeah.
So a lot of times you have unhappy employees. So if they can wait and they would rather direct deposit, we can do that. But I personally just recommend saying, hey.
Yeah, and then you have issues like last weekend where you've got a holiday, and typically they fall either on a Friday or a Monday.
Mm-hmm.
And if they are on a holiday, then that's another bank holiday, right?
Yep.
Which then adds a day to when the funds are actually processed and available.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always good to keep that in mind, because it's
Always
never
good.
a surprise. It's always a surprise, never a good thing, but always a surprise when people don't realize, oh, I need to do that
Mm-hmm.
a day earlier in order to make sure that the funds are available when they're supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good to, either set a calendar reminder, a task reminder. ADP has a nice email they send you to remind you to do it. I mean, you can go ahead and get the as soon as you have your hours in, you can go ahead and get it scheduled to pay, and you can say, you can do a future date. If you need to do July 1st, and if that happened to fall on a weekend, you need to adjust accordingly. And if you wait till the last minute, come in on 2 wheels, and you're at 5:31, you're going to have some kind of a workaround or a plan to let your employees know that you're going to be a day or so behind. And that's not a fun conversation. It does not increase your employee morale. It sort of sets you backwards. So I don't recommend it.
Yeah, and a lot of there are other payment options, like either through your bank, or worst case scenario, Cash App, where the funds are instantly available, PayPal, or those types of things where it shows up or directly in their account, so that at least they can have the net check that's promised. And then to Kate's point, the payrolls run, but you don't do it as a direct deposit, or else that would be another fun experience of clawing back
payroll. I don't recommend it.
Sound like you speak from experience there, Carrie. On
No, I'm just thinking about how my teenagers were, with like allowance, and you transfer that in and it doesn't get in on time. So you do something like a PayPal or an act, you do something different, and then it still goes in, and they're like, what, I can't hear
bonus.
you. And then you pull it out, and then you have a lot of explanation to, I'm talking teenagers, so they're not,
Yeah.
it's not like speaking to an adult, but yeah, that's the experience I have. Yeah.
Gotcha. So, as a payroll or as an employer, you have a multitude of ways to pay your employees. Just bear in mind, the different caveats that come along with each of them. There are pros and cons to
No pun intended.
yeah, no pun intended, to all of them, and just bear that in mind. But you definitely want to run your payroll through whatever payroll service that you're offering,
On
not
time
just giving,
or early.
yeah, not just accounting for your payroll by the net of the check, because as we've determined, there's more costs and more money movement when it comes to paycheck than just the amount that the employees receive. So
Definitely.
so, okay, so moving on to it's really weird because after I got frozen and reconnected, I'm in a different
got
I'm in a
moved
different
down.
orientation,
the
so I
third-
moved
you're in the
down to the bottom.
Girls are on top.
Let's see here. So if
Yeah.
I go like
Wow.
that,
No.
That was too close.
No, that was bad. That was scary.
well, what about this way? There, Carrie's big.
Okay.
Oh, I'm hitting to. Okay, I'm getting to clicking
All right.
buttons here.
Got to be equal here. Equal.
Right. So Gary and I went to Scaling New Heights last week, which is why we didn't do our normal
Week before. You're time traveling. 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. Oh my goodness, yeah. So we wanted to talk a little bit about. Oh, that's right, because last week we talked about the email that was sent out, and so we needed to kind of do a workshop on the fly.
We have QuickBooks News that flies out and it changes our agenda. And this was a bad one. But we fixed it. So watch it, watch it back.
So we did a few classes about some breakout classes. One of the ones that I did is the ones we've been talking about Spreadsheet Sync, and the reviews were from the accounting community. People just it's almost like when a teenager tries to watch a TikTok and it buffers, right? They abandon it, right? So same thing with Spreadsheet Sync. If it doesn't work exactly the way that you anticipate it to go, especially if you're dealing with something with Excel or reports, or their bread and butter is providing services to their clients, and that may involve creating reports, right? So if you're trying something new and it doesn't work the way you want it to, yeah, it's they move on, right? I mean that was kind of the attitude towards Spreadsheet Sync of the folks that I was able to talk to. But Intuit is very aggressive in hoping to make it better, and they've asked us to help them in that effort. So what we've in our I had a couple links to share here, and I need to find it. Okay, so in our QuickBooks Online Advanced course, we have compiled, and I'm going to put it in the chat here, so that should go out to Facebook and YouTube, so people can see and get to those. If you're not a paid member of School of Bookkeeping, you can try it out for free and you can check it out. But we've compiled all of the Intuit resources all in one place, right? And we're talking about how do you use Spreadsheet Sync and those types of things inside of our online advanced course, and the ability to make things better, they have created their own feedback channel just specifically for Spreadsheet Sync. So I'm also going to put that in the comments here as well. It's available, also on the in the course, so you can go in and look at one of the topics. Let me quickly share my screen here. And there we go. You guys should see that. Everybody's readjusted to the right here, so you can look to the left and see. Right. So in School of Bookkeeping, here's all of our topics that we have about the Spreadsheet Sync.
Okay.
And of course, in the FAQs and the Spreadsheet Sync troubleshooting is this link to go and provide feedback directly about the Spreadsheet Sync. But I put that separately, so if you have something that you want to let the folks know, enter that in here. Yeah, I mean, you can go right to the source, right? So they're aggressively and actively looking at this feedback and hoping to make it better. Now, what I would recommend is that product development, putting on my technical support hat for a moment. Product development, I've worked with various product development, product managers over the years at Intuit. If they can't reproduce it, they can't fix it, right? So these steps to reproduce,
dumb it down for them. Make it really, keep it simple to reproduce those steps.
Yeah, and you don't have to. I mean, you don't have to make it simple, but you just have to make it reliably reproduce it. All right.
Yeah.
So whatever steps that you put in there, if you give it to anybody and they get the same results as what you do, then that is, that's a good test of yes, this will get addressed if you have reliable steps to reproduce. But you can't say it doesn't work, right?
I don't like
and then they try whatever it is, and your steps is open it, and it works for them, then they're going to disregard it, right? So be as explicit as you can, and a good test is give the steps to somebody else, and if they get the same results, then that's a good. Those are good steps to reproduce here. So that's kind of the most important part of that. In order to make this better, we need to bring things to their attention so that they can correct it. But you can put in, whether it's a bug, a suggestion, or an idea. And the product manager is Indian. So they call questions doubts. So just so you bear that in mind, so that even though it says doubt, that's a question. Right. So if you just have a general question about why is it this way, because we had a lot of questions in the class that were doubts, right? And they were a lot of, well, why did you do it this way? So if you had a question like that, then you can enter that in as a doubt, but but what you're actually calling it is a question.
Okay.
But when they sent me to India to do some training, that was often a question. They would raise their hand and they'd say, "I have a doubt," and that's what they would say. And what they really mean is, I have a question, right? It's not like I'm doubting you.
It's just
as
their
a person. It's just the way their terminology, right?
So yeah, but that's a good resource. So the more clear feedback we get, the faster the product will be fixed. Because if it's that team, they are awesome. They're awesome over there. They're really good. It's just a little language barrier.
Yeah, and that's why you have to be as explicit as humanly possible, so that it can be identified. And then
this and this to get here, and this is what happened, but this is what I was expecting.
Yeah. All right, so that's our workshop for today. Sorry about the technical issues. I was on the wrong internet. I actually have wired internet connection here in Maine. But I was on the wrong one, so that's why I froze. I gotta set my defaults.
I did mention while you were gone and floating around into the interwebs, I did mention that you were in Maine and that my experience with Maine internet is usually
Yeah.
when I go to Maine, I fall off the grid, not on purpose. It's just like, well, I'll see you next week. So glad you got that solved.
Yeah. So as long as I'm on the right network, I should be good to go, and I have been pretty stable, right? I mean, my
Yes.
internet. Don't talk about
Yes.
anything else that might be
Yeah.
stable.
No. Since take 2, you've been stable.
Okay. Good. All right. So we'll see you next week on another Workshop Wednesday.
Have a great week.